Folks, this is Andrew here, and it's a privilege to be standing next to a UFC legend, none other than WWE superstar, the world's most dangerous man, Ken Shamrock. Thank you for joining us.
Take a breath on that one, brother. That's a long, long sentence.
One of the best things I remember in the UFC, before your time in WWE, was your great fights with the Gracie and also with Dan Severn. What are your memories of fighting Dan Severn?
Well, I mean, especially in earlier days in the UFC, because like I said, I've been through almost, 3 or 4 generations, ever since the late 80s, the 90s, and the early 2000s. I got to see a lot of great champions, got to fight a lot of great fighters. And, remembering back with Dan Severn and Royce Gracie, the challenge was, because during those times, like today, there wasn't a whole lot of training methods. So you had to look at a guy like Royce Gracie and go, I mean, I'm stronger than him, I can overpower him, but man, he's got that gi, he moves weird and gets in good submissions. So my power doesn't really work for him, using the gi and being able to use the guard and the way he used the guard. So I had to develop different styles to fight him. Then I had to fight a guy like Dan Severn where it was all power, it was all weight. So in those days it was fun, because there was so many different strategies that you had to develop. Like myself, I had to develop in order to fight bigger guys and stronger guys and heavier guys, better wrestlers. Then I had to fight guys who had really great submissions, weren't as strong but moved well, set you up real well. So it was really very, very strategic in those days, and trying to develop things that no one ever heard of. Like when I developed ground and pound, no one ever heard of that. Sit in the guard with a guy who submits people from the guard. People thought I was crazy. Sit in the guard, what are you doing? You're sitting in his wheelhouse? But once I did that, then all of a sudden guys like Mark Coleman and other guys started saying, hey, that worked, I'm going to use ground and pound. So they started naming it. So,
and they still do it today.
Oh, absolutely. You see all these things that people have really developed, all come from a foundation that guys like myself, Dan Severn, even Mark Coleman's, Royce Gracie's, who develop different styles to help defeat certain types of disciplines.
I wanted to ask you about Dan Severn personally. I mean, he commends you on, like, you guys had great fights between each other, but he said something in an interview with me that he said that he couldn't forgive you for canceling the fight on him. Like, do you want to elaborate? We'll get your side on that.
Yeah. He knows what it is. He knows what happened. And it's a shame, because Dan Severn has got a unique personality, and just like with pro wrestling when he went into WWE, it didn't work. You can't take away his toughness, because he's a tough guy, but his personality lacks for the entertainment. I ended up getting into a situation where this company approached me, wanted me to do a fight. I already had a fight planned, but this company wanted, after this fight, which was about 3 months, 2-3 months after this fight, they wanted me to fight in their organization. And it was a new organization coming up where they were mixing different styles, wrestlers and boxers and MMA guys. They were all putting them into this match. And I said, yeah, well, we're trying to find an opponent that I thought, would sell tickets. And I didn't want to fight a young guy, because I was definitely up in age. So I said, well, let me find somebody else. So I looking around, I was like, the only thing that hasn't been finished that is kind of maybe a good rubber match would be me and Dan Severn. And I thought to myself, let me get him. So I approached the company, and the company said, no way. He said, he's a good fighter and all that, but we can't sell tickets with him. And I said, no, I'm telling you, man, I can do it. Just like I've always done through my career. I know how to sell a fight. So I talked him into it, getting Dan into that fight. And I told Dan, I said, I got you in, man. So we'll do this fight. We'll go out, we'll finish this grudge match. And so I ended up going to my fight. Well, it was in Texas, right? I ended up coming up positive, tested positive, right? So now I'm going to court, right? Because I'm trying to fight this, because what happened wasn't, I didn't do anything illegal. So I'm fighting it. Dan goes on and says that I'm afraid of him, that I chickened out on him, that I backed out of the fight. And so I text Dan right away. I say, hey, bro, I don't know if you know, but let me tell you what happened. I can't do anything. I'm suspended for a year until I go to court and get this thing overturned. And I can't talk about it right now, so don't use this to try to build a fight, because I can't talk if this is what you're doing, which is what I thought maybe he was trying to build a fight. I didn't hear anything back. Then a couple weeks later, I hear him going on there saying it again, how I was chicken, I backed out of the fight, I didn't want the fight, I was afraid of him. And I'm like, this guy's a punk. I literally said, I just told you what happened. I can't talk about it because I'm going to court right now. I can't. So why are you doing this? So that's where our friction comes in right now, is because he betrayed my trust. He knew there's nothing I could do to defend myself.
Even till today?
No, now I can.
Oh.
That's why I'm doing it. Now I can. But then I couldn't say anything. I couldn't tell people I tested positive. I couldn't tell people, hey, listen, they threw in the drug testing 2 weeks before I went to my fight, 3 weeks before I went to my fight. There wasn't supposed to be testing. So I was under a doctor's care, with some injuries and stuff that I had that I was trying to heal and get fixed and get, healed faster. So I was under a doctor's care. I was going through all the procedures I need to go through. They tell me 3 weeks before they're testing. So then I had to get on alternative medicines, hopefully that it would be out of my system by then. It wasn't. It tested. It was very minimum when they did find it. But it was there. So I couldn't talk about this stuff when Dan was saying all this stuff. I had to be quiet. And the whole time, that's why no one heard from me. And he kept going on about how I was afraid, and I backed out of the fight. Now I'm like, now I get to come out and say, hey, dude, you're a punk. You knew I couldn't fight. I was suspended for a year. So what do you think I'm going to do? Go and fight you even though I'm suspended? It's stupid.
So we finally got your side of the story of everything. Last question. When you came to WWE, I mean, you were thrust right in there with Stone Cold Steve Austin, Bret the Hitman Hart, legendary guys. What was that like being around those guys, especially you being a staple during the Attitude Era?
Dude, you talk about stardom. Just being in a ring with those two guys, you could tell they were way up there. And just to be a part of that match, being able to add that no-holds-barred atmosphere to it as a referee, being able to be in the middle of that match, those guys put on a heck of a show. And that, in my opinion, I think that turned wrestling around to the Attitude Era. And that's when you started seeing things that I was doing with the submission holds. They all started coming out now. Wrestling changed.
Did it change for the better?
Oh, I think it changed in the Attitude, it changed for the better. And it depends on what you like, though. Like I've always said that. It depends on what kind of wrestling you like. Do you like the runway model wrestling with flipping the hair back, picking up the mic, talking smack, high-flying moves, no story? Or do you like the Attitude Era where you get the mic, you talk whatever you want to talk, but you actually go into the match and you beat the crap out of each other and then you come out? And for me, I think that's where you don't have to pretend that you don't watch wrestling. Those are the times where you could actually stand up and be proud you watch pro wrestling.
What was your favorite memory in WWE?
I would have to say probably there was a lot of them because I got to work with a lot of top stars.
What sticks out?
What's that?
What sticks out the most?
Man, like I said, it's hard to say because when you get in the ring with Shawn Michaels, you get in the ring with Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Undertaker. I mean, I can go on. Right? And The Rock. You get in a ring with those guys, and it's just a different feeling. I mean, you're in stardom, right? You're in with guys that are the best of the best. So I had a lot of great moments. But I would have to say the one that really stuck with me, only because I got to work a program and really get deep into our program and really put us up to the next level, was me and The Rock.
Kenny, thank you so much for joining us. Really do appreciate your time.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.